Hey guys, it's SP.
And it's Trey.
And today we wanted to talk about our trip to Germany, Turkey, and London.
Yep, this was a pretty big trip. It lasted a total of 2 weeks. So just sit back, enjoy, and see if you want to add these countries to your bucket list. So our first stop was Germany. And yeah, we just kind of wrapped up our time in Germany and we headed straight from Dresden, Germany
to Antalya, Turkey.
All right, so we ended up getting into Turkey pretty late. I think it was really about close to midnight, so 12 a.m. And so we got there really late. We rode our taxi to the hotel and there was a little bit of traffic in the streets of Antalya. So our taxi driver said, look, if you guys get out right now, walk to your hotel, it's only about a minute or two walk, I'll give you a little discount on the fare, which he did, and we ended up walking to our hotel, which is pretty cool. We were a little nervous at first just because it was a new country for us and, walking in a strange place, but it ended up being really cool. We walked past the aqueducts, which I believe like the Roman Empire used to transport water from one place to the other, so it was a pretty cool historic place, and we ended up finding our hotel.
So we weren't in our hotel for long, about 2 hours, just enough time to set our stuff down, get a little bit of rest until we were up and ready at 3 a.m. for our next excursion. And we were actually going on a bus to drive 8 hours to Cappadocia, Turkey.
Going there, we saw amazing views of the Turkish mountains, all the different trees and the different environments that Turkey has to offer. It was just really beautiful. We had a rest stop, of course. Even just stopping here and taking in the moment was really cool to see all, it just looked different from anywhere that I've been in the United States.
Yes, so at this rest area, they had all kinds of foods and sweet. It was very cool to see. Now Turkey has a lot of spice markets, and we saw that in just about every gas station that we stopped at. So it was really cool to look around, see what the different products that they offer were.
So our tour guide, his name was Ibrahim. He was a pretty cool guy. He had a lot of interesting stories. I believe he was from the country of Turkey. He looked cool to me. I like that he had like the slick back perm hair, and he was just an interesting guy from day one all the way until the end of our excursion here.
Turkish people like to be on time, and he was ready to go about 2 minutes before he said it was time. So we were definitely making sure we were not late.
Yeah, so after a little bit more time, we finally got to our first actual stop, which was an underground cave city.
Drive to see the ferry chimneys, and those were insane. so leaving the fairy chimneys, the next place we went was a pottery studio where we actually got to watch a demo of how local pottery is made. And the guy was super talented. I thought it was pretty cool. That is not an electric wheel. He is moving that wheel with his foot. I took pottery in high school and it was pretty difficult, so I can't imagine the amount of skill and patience it takes to do pottery in this way. But the pot turned out beautiful and he was a pro at it.
And then they took us into one of their sale rooms where they actually have a bunch of the pieces that they made, and it was cool. They made all of their pottery glow in the dark. I can't remember what they said, if it's just because of like a chemical they use in the paint or what was it, but they made their pottery, their plates, their tapestries, their wall art glow in the dark. So that was really cool to see. I didn't believe it at first, and then they cut those lights off and I was like, oh, they actually made it, glow in the dark. And you can even like write with it with light. So somebody could tell us in the comments below how they did this. That'd be great. But I don't remember, but I thought it was just really cool that, they could actually do that.
Yeah, and just the patterns and the artistry was so beautiful. It was really fun to just walk around and explore all that they had.
And you can just see the landscape of, this part of Turkey was just, something out of another world. Like I have never seen, mountains that go up and down like that. And you can even see from the clip, it just in layers. You can see each layer separate from the next.
So then we went to another landscape. It was cool. It had horses, some music, a whole vibe, and it was just another looking point to take some pictures and videos. I will say there are a lot of cats. I'm not about touching cats, but I do think that they're super pretty, so we took a few videos of the Turkish stray cats.
This was definitely my favorite part of this, this part of the tour. Look at these like mega cave cities. So each
about to rain. There were people feeding the birds, so they were going kind of crazy all over the place, and then the thunder happened. Now, what's interesting about rain and thunder is that it does bring good weather conditions the next day, so the wind will decrease when the storm is over, which meant that the hot air balloons will be flying, which is something that Cappadocia is known for. So we were all rejoicing in the rain, but it did start raining pretty hard.
Yeah, you can see we're walking here in the rain to our hotel, which is also a cave hotel that, that came with the trip. So it was a, 2-day, 1-night trip, and we're walking in the rain. It was like a 2 to 5 minute walk. So it wasn't that bad, but it was wet and slippery. So we ended up getting to the hotel, and this hotel was absolutely beautiful. At night, it lit up, and it just looked like something out of a movie or a fairy tale.
So after the rain slowed down just a little bit, it was still dreary. We went into the city and we ate at one of the best rated restaurants for gluten-free in all of Turkey, really, the Tuma restaurant. And it was very, very good. The views were amazing and they were really accommodating for gluten allergies. So if you are going to Turkey and you have celiac disease, I highly recommend making this part of your bucket list. So the next morning we were up bright and early again before the sun to actually fly in a hot air balloon, which is a once in a lifetime experience, truly.
Yeah, you can see here they're inflating the balloons. Like she said, we got there at the crack of dawn, I think like 4 a.m. or so. And they were lighting all the balloons and, getting them inflated. And I didn't realize how big these balloons actually were. Like they are huge in person.
Huge.
And so it was cool to see them, actually lift up into the sky and, how they do that. They have this down to a system. Everybody knows where they're going, what they're doing, how many people are in each basket. And so it was cool to see that system work.
In this time of year that we went, it is actually kind of a hit or miss if the hot air balloons are allowed to fly based on the weather. It cannot be too windy or rainy, or else it won't be safe to fly. So we really hit the jackpot and got lucky, especially when it rained the night before, because they said that the past few nights and days they weren't able to fly the hot air balloons because of the weather. Thankfully, we were able to witness this awesome opportunity on the one morning that we were here. Steep exhale when we were landing. I was like, wow, I can't believe we did this. So we actually landed because our pilot was an expert flyer on the back of a truck. It was very smooth landing. I know I read some people have to go sideways to get out. Nope, he just parked right on that trailer and we got down from the trailer and watched the balloons deflate. And then it was time to celebrate. So one thing I loved about the company that we did the balloon ride with was they had a toast to the flight, and we also got certificates showing that we did it. So it was a very special moment. They definitely made the experience 100% worth it. We had an amazing time and truly one of my favorite memories ever.
So after we got done with the balloon ride, we then headed back to our hotel, packed up our stuff, and we hopped back on the van on our second, or I guess our third part of this excursion.
So it was time to head back, but not before viewing St. John the Baptist Church. That was insane. It was crazy to see a church that was built during BC times and still up, still standing. Some of the original artwork is there. It was just a very peaceful moment and one that I felt very a part of and connected to the histories that lied in that.
Our tour guide, he was crazy in a good way. He went out here and, he went to the edge of, these cave. And so you can see this was a cave city, but it collapsed. Everywhere you see used to be a cave, but it collapsed. You can see the rubble on the ground. And he saw me filming and said, "Step out here, my friend." And so I did. And so I stepped out there and yeah, it was a crazy moment. I probably wouldn't do it again, but it was cool to see, you know, living life on the edge, literally.
Coming back, we had a little bit of the night left, so we ate dinner at a restaurant called Vanilla, and they advertised being good with gluten allergies, so we wanted to check it out. It was pretty good. It was a good view. It was a very peaceful part of the city. And then we walked and did some shopping and then went to sleep.
And the next day we really just chilled. We were supposed to go to the beach and see the waterfall that they had there, but we didn't end up doing any of that. We ended up going to a cafe called Paul's Place. It was a biblical reference, and yeah, really just walking around a little bit, chilling. We slept in for the first time in I think three or 4 days, and so it was very nice just to relax. And even though we didn't get to go to the main sites of Antalya, we can always go back. We wanted to prioritize our mental well-being and make sure we had enough energy for the rest of the trip, because we still had about a week left at this point.
All right, after we slept, it was time to go shopping, my favorite thing. And we were on the hunt for some white outfits because in Istanbul we were taking engagement pictures. And so we were looking for a dress for me. And we found just the spot, The Cutest Boutique by Alisar Moto.
And then our time in Antalya was over. So we headed to the airport the next day and we hopped on a flight straight to Istanbul.
When you go, make sure that you have plenty of time to be prepared.
We landed in Istanbul, I think only 2 or 3 hours later.
Up to the hotel. This is the Seven Hills Hotel. Very beautiful, and staff was also very kind. 10 out of 10 experience. I highly recommend this hotel.
And then after we got settled in the hotel, we walked around a little bit. Our hotel was in a perfect location, right next to the Hagia Sophia Mosque and the other blue mosque. And so it was next to all the attractions. And so we just walked around for a little bit. We actually walked to get something to eat. And I'll let you know right now, the restaurant we end up eating at is called the Old Ottoman Cafe. I kid you not, we ate there either 3 or 4 times during this trip. Like so individual times. The staff here was amazing, and after each meal, each of the 4 times, we got a free apple tea and a free dessert.
We then made our way to the Grand Bazaar. That is the place where all your shopping needs. They have so many stores. You can truly get lost in there all day and wander and not know where you started, but it was just a super cool experience to try our bargaining skills, which were very poor, but we really enjoyed just looking at some scarves, clothing, fake bags, fake shoes.
She says fake, I say Turkish special. But it was really cool to see all of anything you could ever imagine, they have it there. You may notice I have the camera kind of like at a low angle, my finger covering it. That's because when I was recording, you know, up high, you know, my regular angle, I was getting some looks and some stares from the local shops. I guess they didn't want to be filmed, fair enough. So I kept that thing low and tucked, but I still wanted to get these recordings for you guys because it was really cool to see. And I'm not gonna say the stuff there was like great prices or whatnot, because I really don't have anything to base it off of, but at least if you're not gonna go buy anything, go experience it, go walk around, go try and haggle for something cheap just to see, you know, just to get that full experiences, because I know for me, if we would have left without doing this, I would have felt upset. I think we were there for like 3 or 4 hours on accident, not on purpose.
This next clip you see is actually us going into one of the secret stores. You have to be invited in, and it is outside of the Grand Bazaar, but that was super cool. That is where you get the real luxury items.
And then we were hungry yet again, so we tried this place out called Mr. Dumpling, and they had Turkish dumplings, which are all gluten-free. So we ordered definitely too much much food on accident. They weren't my favorite, I won't lie, but it was cool to taste them. They had different like flavors, so they had potato, vegetables, and
I also think we were very hot, shopping for a long time, and a little jet lag, so we were ready for bed after we ate all of those dumplings. So the next morning we woke up and started our day at the North Art Cafe. Next up, we went to the Hagia Sophia Mosque. And just a heads up that not only do you need your shoulders and knees covered, but you need your legs covered as well. So I did have to buy a new outfit in order to go in, but after I had that, we had the fast pass ticket to go on right in. So the next day, we were up early again because it is photo shoot day, so we're actually taking our engagement pictures in Istanbul. It was one of the reasons why we wanted to go, because Istanbul is the wedding capital of the world.
Our photographer, he was great.
Yes, so this is actually on top of the hotel that we stayed at. It is a famous location where birds will flock and you can feed them and get the perfect picture. Then we hopped on a tram over to a different side of Istanbul.
And to end this busy day, we actually had a river cruise on the Bosphorus River. We first started by sitting in the front there, but as you can see, our view was a baby, and we don't have a baby. So
we did not want to get views of the baby or pictures of the baby. Wrap on our time in Istanbul. It was truly an amazing trip, and I definitely want to go back.
So we're wrapping up. Our stuff's packed to go, but we said, why not just go to the market one more time? We went back to the Grand Bazaar just to see if there was anything. We are getting married next year. We're looking for, wedding suits and whatnot. And so there was a guy who had an advertisement selling suits. And so yet again, for the third time this trip, we went to a private shop, and it was just a bunch of suits. And you can see right here, this is the suit I ended up getting. I loved it. It was a great fit, great price. The Mustafa, who owned the shop, he was a great guy.
We had to leave Istanbul in style, so we requested a ride to the airport, and what showed up? A Maybach. That's right. So we soaked that experience up. It was insane. So cool. There was a TV there. We had to watch some of our favorites, the Chews. Shout out to the Chews. Then we arrived to our hotel in London. We were greeted by this nice elephant man, Citizen M. It's always a great time. We've stayed twice in Miami, now once in London. The guys were really cool who checked us in. They actually gave us free drink tickets.
And that was one of the best drinks I've ever had. I think it was a passion fruit drink. This day was pretty funny, I won't lie. It started off great. We went to a really nice cafe. Our server was probably one of the funniest people that we've ever met, and we decided we're gonna do a hop-on, hop-off bus tour. Now, listen carefully. If you are doing a hop-on, hop-off bus tour
with the big red bus,
please be very detail-oriented and get on the right route. We only had about 2 hours to spare before we had to head back to the airport. And so we were supposed to head on the red line. The red line went to all the main attractions in London in a nice short condensed track, and we would get there, have plenty of time, whatever. We ended up hopping on the blue line, which went through all of London. And when I say all of London, I mean the neighborhoods and everywhere you can think of.
And unfortunately, we could not get off in time to actually go to the tourist site.
And that pretty much wraps up our trip. Like I said, this trip was about 2 weeks long in total, and it was very tiring, but it was very rewarding.
Yeah, it was so fun, and I always say that traveling opens your perspective to new cultures, meeting new people, and I always come back with more knowledge, experiences, and appreciation than when I left.
And let us know in the comments below if you have any suggestions of where we should travel next. We'd love to travel, so we might see us in your country next.